What's up, Mecha fans, and welcome back to the channel. So today we are once again talking about Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Now, a couple of weeks ago I did a character tier list for this series, but today we're going to be ranking every single mobile suit in the series from worst to best in a tier list. Before I get into my ranking though, I want to hear from you guys, so head on down to the comment section below, let me know your favourite mobile suits that appear in The Witch from Mercury, and while you're there please do leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're a fan of mecha anime content and want to see plenty more videos like this in the future. At this point you guys know the drill, we've got S, A, B, C and D tier, no F tier here. I don't even know whether anything really deserves to be in D because there's a lot of mobile suits here that I love. Kicking things off with the Ariel, the main Gundam from this series, the poster child, if you will, of Witch from Mercury. I'm going to put this one into A tier for now, but it may get moved up to S. We'll see about that. I mean, it is like the main protagonist Gundam, the first within the series, then gets upgraded to what we'll talk about in a moment. But yeah, I mean, like it's a more sleek, you could argue like a more like feminine looking version of the traditional Gundam style. I think it's just a great modern reimagining of it. Colour schemes there, like every colour is kind of in the same place as what it was with the RX-78 but it just works. It is a great looking mobile suit. You really cannot go wrong with the classic design. I would say in every incarnation of Gundam, when they've taken the traditional looking Gundam, that traditional colour scheme, and kind of altered it slightly, I think they always do a good job with it, and Ariel is another great example of that. Next up we do have its counterpart, the Ariel Rebuild, which for this one, I'm actually going to go in A again, but I'm actually going to go behind the Ariel. I like the Ariel's kind of lack of extra things a little bit more, but with the Ariel Rebuild, it's one of those examples where they don't add too much onto it, but they add on like kind of just enough to make it a bit more of an upgrade and make it a bit more powerful. But also, I think it generally has like a good silhouette, if you will. Like if you see, for example, in the last few episodes when we're at Quiet Zero, Ariel Rebuild kind of comes floating down with Eri right by it. It just looks great, just like as a silhouette in that regard. And also, of course, way more powerful, and you know, you see it right from the moment that it kind of first appears. It's probably got one of the best first appearances for a mobile suit within Witch from Mercury. I was so hyped seeing the Ariel Rebuild for the first time, so of course it is going in A. Now we move on to the Bagheer Bow, and I think this is the first mobile suit from the prologue that I'm talking about here, which I am actually including all the prologue mobile suits. Looks pretty good. I mean, it's I want to say it's a Grassley mobile suit. I know that like this next one that we're about to talk about is a Grassley mobile suit. I can't remember whether Grassley properly existed when this was first introduced. I can't remember, but it's from that kind of lineage of Bagheer mobile suits. It is a solid looking one. I like the colour scheme, the white, purple, kind of black and light grey. That's a nice colour scheme. The Bagheer mobile suits, they're not my favourite in the series, but I do think they have a solid design, decent proportions. I'm not the biggest fan of their legs. I'm not really the greatest fan of Grassley mobile suits generally. If I was to kind of rank all of the company's mobile suits, I'd probably say Grassley's like either at the bottom or close to the bottom. Not the hugest fan of them, but they are still solid looking mobile suits. So I'm going to put this one in B for now, but I think it's going to remain relatively low. And then next we've got the Bagheer Pente, which to a degree I actually like more. I love the kind of darker purple colour scheme with a bit of the red. Very reminiscent of what we've got with the Z Apollo from Code Geass Rose of the Recapture very, very recently. Now technically this came out beforehand, but it's just a comparison that I felt like making. But yeah, the Bagheer Pente looks pretty solid. I don't know whether I like him more than the Bagheer Bow. There's a part of me that does, but I kind of like a lighter colour scheme. That's personally more of my preference. Nonetheless though, but the Bagheer Pente does look pretty damn good. So we're going to put it for now behind the Bagheer Bow. These two may get switched around just a tad bit. Next up we move on to Gundam Calibarn. Now this one I'm putting straight up into S tier. Now it's kind of like the final protagonist mobile suit within Witch from Mercury that Slater of course uses. And there is something about just that all white colour scheme, the overall design, and I guess the ideas that they're kind of implemented into like how this thing looks. It literally looks like a witch. The cannon thing that it's got looks like a broomstick, and it works incredibly well. For a series called The Witch from Mercury, like it just makes sense that this thing would exist and look exactly like it does, but that pure white colour scheme, especially with the first introduction to it when it comes flying in with the track Liberation from the Curse. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Got a great introduction. It's so damn good. I love the Calibarn. It is one of my favorite looking mobile suits in the series. Also, probably my favorite Gunpla I own. The high grade Calibarn. If you guys haven't bought it yet, absolutely do go out and get that. It's one of the best Gunpla probably ever made. Next up, we'll move on to Choo Choo's Demi Trainer. Now, I gotta be honest, I'm not the hugest fan of this. The Demi Trainer, as like a suit, it's okay. It's kind of like the GM equivalent for which from Mercury, where it's just very basic. Proportionally, it's solid, but it's also not the most amazing thing ever. Choo Choo's version of it, I think I maybe like less. I don't know whether I like the colour scheme quite as much. I think I like the colour scheme just a little bit less. Also, kind of looking at it, especially side by side with a lot of these, to me it almost looks thinner than what the standard Demi Trainer does. Maybe it's because it's got big weaponry, but it's still the same mobile suit. I don't really know. Choo Choo's Demi Trainer is fine. It's not my favourite though. I'm going to go in C, which is kind of appropriate. Choo Choo C. Now we move on to the darilbalde Gwell suit. This is a great one. I truly do love like pretty much all of the Jetic suits. Yeah, the darilbalde is fantastic. I think it's an A tier suit. I'm going to go at the bottom of A though. The colour scheme looks great. The overall design, the way that it kind of works well and all the kind of parts shoot off and things like that. It's really cool in battle. It looks visually great. I love the head design, especially like the visor that's like, you know, part green, part yellow. Looking back on it, the darilbalde is not used as much as I thought it was, but it's still a great suit nonetheless. Next we'll move on to the Demi-Barding, which is Choo Choo's second suit that she uses. Now this one, I think I like more than than Choo Choo's version of the Demi Trainer, simply because it's a lot bigger. It has a lot more parts on it, but those parts kind of work because like the suit, like in its most basic state, is a lot more bulkier, I guess, than what the Demi Trainer is, if that makes sense. But anyway, this one looks really good. It's kind of brought in for like the last few episodes, so it's not the most heavily utilized throughout the series, but it's good. I kind of like the bulkiness of it. This is one of those cases where a bulky suit works for me personally. So I'm going to go with B on this one. We're going to go right at the bottom. Next up, we got the Demi Garrison, another variant of the Demi mobile suits, which are all pretty much utilized in the school. And this one is kind of the military, like security use one. I think I like this one the most out of all the Demis. One, because of the color scheme. I kind of like that bluey grey tint that it's got to it. It's a little bit darker, but also the yellow visor works so well with the color scheme. It's more of a military use kind of mobile suit as well, so it's, you know, it's got its weaponry and such. I really do like this one. I'm going to put it above the Demi-Barding, and I think I might actually put it above the Begeer Pente. Do I want to put it above the Begeer Bow? I'll set it right there for now. You guys can only actually see like half of its body, which is the problem sometimes with tier Maker. And then we've got the Demi Trainer itself, the initial Demi Trainer. Once again, like I said, this is kind of like the GM equivalent for which from Mercury, where it's the most solid, basic looking suit. It's not the most amazing thing ever. It's not the worst thing ever either. I think I'm going to sit this one kind of comfortably in C, but I'm going to put it at the top, so just above Choo Choo's Demi Trainer. Next up, we've got the Desulter. This is one of the Dawn of Folds mobile suits, I believe used by Naji and Olcott. This, to me, feels very Iron-Blooded Orphans, which is the same with another Dawn of Folds suit that we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it looks solid enough. It kind of looks like a soldier. It evokes a more traditional military soldier look, and it's solid. Not the most amazing thing ever, not the most creative mobile suit design either, but it's just a very solid looking suit that kind of works in my opinion. I'm actually going to put this one in B. To be honest, I like the look of it a little bit more than the Demi-Barding. I think the Demi-Barding is maybe utilized a little bit better in the series though. We're going to sit it at the bottom of B for now, but it may move down to high C. Next up, we've got the Delanza. Now this is the Jetic grunt suit in the series. Really love the color scheme of it. I do quite like the proportions because like it's a really small kind of squat mobile suit that's a little bit more chunkier, but every part of it is like that, so it kind of works. I don't like mobile suits when the proportions are off, like some parts are big, some parts are small, some parts are thin, some parts are thick, and all that kind of stuff. Like I want it to kind of pick a lane and stick to that. The Delanza, in my opinion, absolutely does that. I think I like it more than the Begeers, so we're actually going to put this one right at the top of B. I think the standard Delanza in particular is a very solid looking suit. And then we've got the Delanza Soul, which is, I want to say, the more military version of it, because I believe it's utilized more like Earth and kind of keeping the peace and such. A darker color scheme really works for this suit. I think I still like the color scheme for the standard Delanza more, but the Delanza Soul, generally very solid, so I'm going to put it just behind the standard Delanza. Then we've got Guel's Delanza, which I thought was utilized way more in the series than it was. It actually only appears in the first episode and then gets taken out. I don't know why I forgot that it was completely out of action from then on, but it's practically has one major fight. But what I like most about it is that it perfectly represents Guel very early on. It's very brightly coloured and heavily stands out. Over the top, maybe in its design, the big white feather, it just screams like Guel kind of trying to show off. And that's what he's like in that first episode, so it's like a perfect representation of his character. Also pink, very bright coloured. I think I still like these two a little bit more in terms of the colour scheme, but I think just because of how well it perfectly represents the character, I'm going to kind of sit it right in the middle, where I like the standard Delanza more. I also like the Delanza stole in terms of its look, but it's such a perfect representation of the character, we're going to sit it right in the middle of those two. Then we'll move on to the Gund node. Now this is the one that's utilized to create everything that Quiet Zero is trying to do, contain all the permit stuff and allow area to move around. I actually really like this design for what it's trying to do, and specifically like combining. It's a very well designed thing for the purpose that it serves. I love the colour scheme of it. Kind of anything that's linked to like the Vanadis Institute, and you know, we see with like the gun Volvers, the gun nodes, the lfrith variants, all that kind of stuff. I always really like those mobile suits. Those are some of my favorites in the series. The gun node, I think it's a very, very solid design. I wish we got a proper kit of it. I know there's a P Bandai kit that's either out or it's coming out. I'm going to go somewhere in B. It's really only in the latter few episodes. So in terms of design, I do kind of like it more than a lot of these Delanzas. We're going to kind of split the difference. We're going to sit it about there. So pretty high in B. Next up, we got the gun Volver. I can't remember who this is specifically made by, but I know it's used by the Dawn of Fold. Nerea and Sophie use it when they first invade the school. I love kind of the simplicity of the design. It looks like a traditional Gundam, but it uses a totally different color scheme. Yellow eyes, I think always look great, especially with this color scheme, that kind of grayish color scheme that you got going on. It's also really the only suit that actually is full CGI in the series, which even then it works because like it's intentionally supposed to be a different like unmanned mobile suit, so it kind of works being CG. Also, it still looks great in CG anyway, but yeah, this is a really, really solid looking suit, just very simplistic, but also very iconic. It's different, but familiar. So again, I'm going to put this one in B. I'm actually going to go right at the top. The Gun Volver truly works for me in a way that I never really thought it did. We now move on to some more grassy suits. We've got the Hindry. I'm not the hugest fan of this. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of grassy suits. They're a bit too slim and skinny for me. I don't really like the way that the sword is actually linked with the shield. I feel like it should be a bit separate. It's alright, I don't mind the colour scheme, but again, I think this one's going to sit in C. I gotta be honest, I'm going to put this one at the back of C. I'm not the hugest fan of the Hindry. And then we've got the Hindry Sturm. This is actually used on Earth again with the Delanza Soul. Both of these mobile suits kind of used as peacekeeping. I like this one more, I like the colour scheme of it more, I like the utilisation of it more. I like the shield more for definite as well. This one's pretty solid, but again, it's still like C tier, but I think I actually kind of like it just a little bit more than Choo Choo's Demi Trainer. Anyway, next up, move on to the Hindry, which is kind of the precursor to the Hindry, I believe, because it's used in the prologue. Solid again, I actually really like the colour scheme for this one, the kind of desert camo look, but also implement some of those purple highlights as well. I'm actually going to go above this Hindry Sturm, but again, it's still not the most amazing one ever. Then we move on to Laura's Delanza. Now this one's pretty much the same as the standard Delanza, but it's got a bit of a different top horn thing, different weaponry with that double-sided battle axe, which is really badass by the way. But I know that like with the gunpla kit for this one, it is like a Delanza, Laura's Delanza kind of cross thing, so they didn't actually make two kits for it. I think I still like the standard Delanza more, but I think I like this one just a little bit more than Guel, so we'll put it right in between those two. And then we'll move on to the standard lfrith, the original. This is my favourite suit in the series, top of S tier. It's kind of a very Gundam-y looking thing, but it's also so different at the same time. It was kind of our first introduction to what the Gundams are going to be like in The Witch from Mercury. It looks great, it's got a fantastic introduction. I adore the colour scheme, I adore the design. I love the bunny ears it's got as well, that's really cool to me, it works a lot. It's my favourite suit in the series, and I don't think it was topped. Same with the actual prologue itself. That episode still, in my opinion, was not topped by any episode in the main series, but yeah. lfrith goes right at the top of S tier. I absolutely love that suit. On the opposite side, but still within the same realm of conversation, we have the lfrith pre-production model. I really don't like this. This is one of those examples of just removing one thing, adding on a different thing, and it totally ruins the suit itself. For one, it doesn't have like any ears or a V-fin or anything like that, so it to me just looks like a bald lfrith model. Doesn't work at all. Then it's got these pods which have got the gun bits in, and they're just far too big for the suit itself. Even when I do like this kind of blue colour scheme, it's just entirely blue, so I don't think it works quite as well as maybe if it had some highlights or if it had a different colour that was prominent in there, but because it's practically all blue, I'm not the hugest fan of it. And it's quite funny actually, this one's going to go in D tier, which is kind of wild how you just switch out a couple of things and it takes a suit all the way from S tier right down to D tier. I do not like the pre-production model. It's a P Bandai kit as well. I'm probably not going to invest in actually getting one. I've heard that it's a pretty good kit, but still, I just do not like the design whatsoever. Then we've got the lfrith Thorn, which again, I don't like this design either. Now, it's kind of funny because it's like referred to as the Chicken Walker Gundam or whatever. I just hate the proportions. Like I've said in multiple videos in the past when I've been talking about the mobile suits or mechas in general, proportions are very, very important to me. This has horrible proportions. It's supposed to be like a standard proportion type Gundam, but it's got really short legs, but it's still got standard length arms, still got a standard body, still got a standard head. It just doesn't look right to me. So this one's actually going in D tier. It's tough whether to put it at the bottom because there's more elements to it that I like. Sorry, let's just move these around. There's more elements that I like to this lfrith Thorn than the pre-production model, but those legs just kill it. If it had the standard normal size legs, it would be so much better, but the legs truly do not work. I get that that's the appeal of it, but that doesn't work for me at all. Onto another lfrith model that I do like, the lfrith, which is piloted by Sophie. I always thought this one was piloted by Nerea. She deserved this one because it's the far better mobile suit in my opinion, but yeah. lfrith, love the bulkiness of everything about it. The head design, the shoulders, the arms, the legs. It all looks fantastic. Also has a giant minigun. So badass. Works for a character like Sophie, who is pretty insane. And yeah, I love her using this suit. I love the suit itself. Now, I like seeing the Thorn and the next to each other. I think they look great side by side. But like I said, I like the like so much more than what the Thorn looks like. I'm actually going to put this one in A. It's going to go right at the bottom of A though. Then we'll move on to the Michaelis, which is Shadik's own personal suit. Again, with the grassy ones. Not the biggest fan of this. I think I like it more than some of the other grassy ones though. We're going to put it right at the top of C, but it's still going in C. I'm not the hugest fan of this one. The Michaelis is maybe better than some of the other ones, but again, it's not the best of them all either. Then we'll move on to the pharact. This is a suit that I really do love. Still need to pick up a kit of it, which I do not own yet. I love like all of the weaponry that it's got, the way it's utilized in battle, of course piloted by A-Line 4 and A-Line 5 as well. It is a great looking suit, great color scheme, kind of menacing looking as well with the red eyes and that. And like for the kind of suit that it is, it works being like a little bit skinnier, especially when you've got this kind of sniper rifle thing. It kind of sits more off to the side and doesn't like head on engage in battle quite as much. That's what kind of works about it. So yeah, and also kind of a perfect representation of A-Line as well, who's intentionally more sneaky and doesn't like to do the things himself, especially A-Line 5. So, and also the real A-Line as well. So I'm going to put this one in A tier. I'll put it behind the darilbalde. I think I like the darilbalde just a little bit more, but we'll put it in between that and the Then we'll move on to the Praedoris, which is, again, one of the Dawn of Fold suits. This is the one that's used by more of the lower end people within the Dawn of Fold. This one, to me, screams Iron-Blooded Orphans, especially like the kind of mono-eyed ones, and it looks a little bit like a Dom Trooper as well, especially the head design anyway. Again, very kind of grunt looking suit, which does kind of work, and I'm looking at it in comparison to others. We're moving this one down to the top of C. I'm going to put the Praedoris in C as well. I do actually like seeing it in battle. I'm going to put it about here. It's a little bit more menacing looking than that, and it looks kind of less like a standard soldier like the one that we were talking about earlier, the Desulter. Top of C seems like a solid place to put it. Next up though, we've got the Schwarzette. Initially, I said it was my favourite mobile suit design in Witch from Mercury. It is not quite that anymore. It's still great though. What I love about it most is the way that it's kind of flexible in terms of like its weaponry. You've got this giant sword that it's got. Part of that sword then splits off into either a shield or wings, or like a single wing. Looks badass by the way, but also the sword kind of, when it's got all the stuff on it, works as a gun, a rifle, whatever you want to call it. All that stuff moves away and you've still got a blade. Love the actual look of it. Proportionally, it's pretty good. I love the head design. That's one of my favorite parts of it. Color scheme is so awesome. Light gray, dark gray, a little bit of purple in there as well, like pinky purple. Looks so good. Wish it wasn't piloted by Lauda. Guel kind of deserved to pilot it, but I guess that was the point of the series, that he was going to pilot it, he didn't. Schwarzette is a great suit. This one is going in the A tier for me, above the darilbalde. Still really, really do adore it. I'm actually going to move some things around. The aerial, gotta be honest, I'm putting this in S tier. I don't know why I didn't put it in there before. And now we move on to the last two here. We've got the Zoart and the Zoart Heavy. Now, it's a case of which I prefer out of these two, but I like both these suits quite a lot. Very Iron-Blooded Orphans-esque, very military-looking suits, which again, makes sense. They are, I was going to say they're used by the Dawn of Fall, they're actually used by Spatian military coming after the Dawn of Fall, but they are utilized in that episode 15. I like both these designs. I like the color scheme of the Zoart a little bit more, but the Zoart Heavy is one of those cases where adding a lot of weaponry onto it really, really works for me. These are both like B tier for me. I think I actually like them more than kind of these ones like in the bottom of B tier. So we're going to sit him about here. I'm going to put the Zoart Heavy in front of the Zoart, but I actually surprisingly like these ones quite a bit. So we may need to do a little bit of sorting here. I'm actually going to move the Hindry down to D tier. I'm actually going to move lfrith Thorn just in front of it, still staying in D tier. And I think that's about right. I don't really know whether there's anything else I'd change here. So there we have it. That is my tier list for the Witch from Mercury in terms of mobile suits. S tier, we've got the lfrith, calibarn, aerial, so on and so forth. And then in D tier, lfrith Thorn, Hindry, and the lfrith pre-production model. There we have it though. That is my mobile suit tier list for the Witch from Mercury. Before I get out of here, please do leave a like on this video and subscribe if you are a fan of Mecha anime content and want to see plenty more videos like this in the future. Also, head on down to the comment section below, like I said earlier. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your favourite, your least favourite mobile suits within this series. How does your tier list or your ranking compare to mine? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know all that down in the comment section below. As always, thank you so much for tuning into MChat today. I'll see you guys next time.